So President Trump is promising a middle-class tax cut. He did this after a rally in Nevada. The Washington Post says the following: after his campaign rally in this northeastern Nevada town, Trump talked up the new round of tax cuts, but did not go into specifics. He said the cuts would be done sometime just prior, I would say, to November. We are going to be putting in and are studying very deeply right now, around the clock, a major tax cut for middle-income people. Trump said shortly before his departure back to Washington, not for business at all, for middle-income people. This despite the fact that Congress is out of session until after the November 6th midterm elections. So basically what that means is Donald Trump just, casually was talking about, oh yeah, definitely gonna do another tax cut before November. But Congress is out, so that's impossible. You can't do that. So in other words, he just made it up and he's caught red-handed, but that won't change any of his rabid supporters from still saying he's right somehow, even though that makes no sense.
Trump, this is the second time he said that he was gonna do things that he can't really do without Congress. Things that he said he would accomplish prior to the midterm elections. The other thing, which we'll talk about later in the show, has to do with foreign aid to Honduras and Guatemala. He says he's gonna cut off aid to those countries because of this whole caravan situation, caravan of migrants trying to cross over into the United States. I think, especially when it comes to this tax proposal that he's randomly and casually making, he realizes that the tax law that they did pass is extremely unpopular. It's very clear that they were really just tax cuts for the wealthy, tax cuts for corporations, and the middle class hasn't really benefited from it. So much so that GOP candidates have now abandoned bragging about those tax cuts while they campaign because they realized how incredibly unpopular it is. So I think Trump is just trying to garner some support by saying, no, don't worry guys, I got you. I'm gonna cut your taxes before the midterms. I don't know how he plans on doing that. But one other thing that I do want to mention is if you look at polling, the majority of Americans, including a slight majority with Republicans, would agree to increasing their taxes to get universal health care.
Yeah.
So I think he's wrong in thinking that all Americans really want is more tax cuts.
So I have a really interesting fact about that. Apparently 61% of Americans say that his tax bill was for the rich and corporations. So honestly, it doesn't matter. They've been trying to brand this from day one and they keep pounding the pavement and saying, oh no, this is a tax cut for regular people. This isn't a tax cut for the rich. It's not working. Even though they're repeating it over and over and over and over, it's not working. And in fact, the tax bill that already passed, it raises taxes on everybody that makes $75,000 a year or less over a decade. So it's not working because we see what's happening. Wages are falling, unemployment is going down. So he likes to tout that over and over like, oh, unemployment's low, but wages are falling too. So talking about unemployment is not the best economic indicator.
So many things to say. First, on that poll, there's two other fun facts about it. So the margin, what was the margin? Okay, 61%. But what percentage thought, no, it's also for the middle class? Only 30. So it's 61 to 30, that's a 2-to-1 margin. That's an absolute disaster. But wait a minute, fake news, who did the poll? Was it one of those media organizations? It was the Republican National Committee. Oops, okay. That is why all the Republicans stopped running ads on the tax breaks because they were killing themselves. So the memo went out to all Republicans, stop the ads on the tax cuts because all it's doing is costing you the election. It's deeply unpopular. Now, let's go to point number 2, which is Donald Trump being such a knucklehead. Number 1, as Kyle pointed out, Congress is not in session. What he's suggesting is an impossibility. And normally it takes 7 weeks. It took 7 weeks last time to pass a bill. There's only 11 days left in November. There's only 2 weeks left before the election. Obviously impossible. Okay, but number 2, look at what he admitted. He said, this time, not for business at all, for middle income people. Thereby admitting last time it was for business and not for middle income 100%. People.
So dumb.
Why do you say that? You're such an idiot. Okay, I'm glad he's stupid because it helps our cause because he accidentally reveals who he is. I mean, when I asked Tucker Carlson about his pathological lies during our debate on Politicon last night, Tucker Carlson said basically, well, he is who he is. Well, that means basically he's not that bright and he doesn't know that he's not supposed to say, hey, last time it was for businesses. And of course, the implicit part of that is the businesses that helped me. Okay, and he's raised over $100 million already for his non-existent 2020 election. Okay, all from those same business interests. the middle class was just an afterthought for them. So I got numbers on how bad it is in a second. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment. Before Tucker made that point about Trump lying, he did laugh maniacally, which was very convincing. It made a really great point there.
And let me also say real quick, I actually would support middle-class tax cuts, but the reality is they don't want middle-class tax cuts. They say it's middle-class tax cuts, and then they cut it for the rich. And to give a few examples of that, in the original bill, the corporate tax rate went from 35% to 21%, and they raised the line for the estate tax up to $10 million. So it was only applying to the 0.01%, and they said, why not make that the 0.0001%?
Yeah, and then my favorite was in one of, I think it was Kevin Brady, but it might have been another Republican politician who said, no, the estate tax is not necessarily for the rich.
What?
No, but it literally applies to people who have estates over $5 million.
That's why they call it the death tax, because they're trying to spin the PR machine to get people to think, oh my God, that's gonna affect me because I'm gonna die.
I don't know if it's just like as usual, a brazen lie, or if they really think like, oh, I mean, $5 million in my club is middle class, right?
Yeah.
So now let me give you numbers on how much people save, okay? So in tax cut 1.0, the one that already passed, if you're in the top 1%, and there's different numbers for that, $730,000 a year or $837,000 a year, in that ballpark, you're gonna save $61,090, okay? And then in 2027, what little, or 2025 in realistically, what little tax cuts the middle class did get wiped out.
Yep.
But for the rich,
permanent.
75% get to keep their tax cuts forever. So now wait, you say for budgetary reasons, they say we had to they call it sunsetting. We had to sunset the tax cuts for the middle class. Well, then why didn't you have to sunset the taxes for the rich? I mean, that costs us even more money. Oh, but no, those are our donors and our friends. Of course, we're not going to end those. So now they're coming back around and saying, well, I mean, yeah, sure, we meant the middle class too, right? And now that it's unpopular, we're about to lose the election, we also meant the middle class. Okay, so great analysis to find out, okay, tax cuts 2.0, this is already passed by the House. Okay, so Senate's not going to come back and pass it. The Republicans in the House all voted for this, or almost all did. If you make under $28,600, so poor to middle class, you're going to get about $100. So it's in the middle class tax cuts, you would actually get $100 if you make under that amount.
$100 for the full year?
For the whole year, $100.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
And it's actually worse than that, because I remember there was a great article in The Intercept right after Trump was elected. In his first week in office, he got rid of a middle class mortgage tax deduction, which effectively raised taxes on the middle class.
Yes.
So they never meant it about you, ever, 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 ever. Don't let them get away with the lies. And by the way, this is why the mainstream media is so objectively terrible, and why you have to come to new media to get the truth, because they won't tell you that. They'll give you the both sides tap dance, and they'll say, well, the Republicans say they're cutting it for the middle class, but they're not actually doing that. So, report, do your job.
And here, look, I'll give you the real numbers. In the new tax cuts, luckily, again, they have not been passed. And we might disagree a little bit on whether I am in favor of a tax cut for the middle class. If you make between $54,000 and $95,000, in the ones that are proposed, you would actually get a $980 tax cut. Now, I'm opposed to that because I think it's basically just bribery of real Americans. They say they're giving away stuff. It's Christmas, right? And this is what they accuse Democrats of all the time. Oh, Obama phones, and he's giving away stuff to minorities. This is a giveaway in another sort. It's just but it destroys the deficit, et cetera. That's my conservative fiscal side from back in the day. But $980 to be fair, okay? The top 1% would get another $40,180
on top of the $61,000
that's right,
getting with tax cut 1.0.
So at the end of the day, if you're poor to middle class, you get about $100 combined from the two. You get about $1,000 if you're middle class, and if you're rich, you get $100,000. Okay, and then Trump says, "Oh, the new one's for the middle class." Then why are you giving $40,000 to the top 1% again in that proposal? So even that's not true. They can't help themselves. They love redistribution of wealth. They love to take it from you and give it to the top 1%. Like what you see? Click the subscribe button below and don't forget to ring the bell to never miss another video from the Young Turks.